Dr. Rangarajan, Professor Kirit Parekh, Dr. Najmi, Professor Mahendra Dev, Professor Goyal, and the distinguished audience. It's a matter of great pride and immense pleasure for the Reserve Bank to be participating in the Silver Jubilee of IGIDR. I stand here to represent the Reserve Bank, and on behalf of the Reserve Bank, our warm felicitations to the management, director, faculty, staff, and students, and all their families on this occasion of the Silver Jubilee. A Silver Jubilee is a chronological milestone. It's an occasion for celebration, but it's also an occasion for introspection. To look back on what's been achieved, the setbacks, and to look ahead to the new challenges, and to define new aspirations. So to look back at IGIDR, you need to understand the design and concept of this institution, and therefore you need to go back to its parent, the Reserve Bank. The Reserve Bank, as many of you know, has a long history and a strong tradition of promoting knowledge and knowledge institutions. As far back as 1950, the Reserve Bank set up institute chairs in several institutions. Somewhere in the 80s, we promoted the NIBM in partnership with other banks. And over the years, we've been promoting knowledge activities through grants for research projects, through grants for seminars and conferences. In this larger context of commitment to knowledge, the IGIDR, however, represented a change in direction. For the first time, the Reserve Bank promoted an institution with a mandate for development research without any explicit expectation that the research agenda of the institution will be aligned with the knowledge requirements of the Reserve Bank. And most significantly, in addition to research, teaching was part of IGIDR's mandate. So if you look at all that, there are three factors unique that define IGIDR. First, it was fully and exclusively funded by the Reserve Bank. It continues to be fully and exclusively funded by the Reserve Bank. Second, its areas of research were not in any way dictated by the requirements of the Reserve Bank or determined by the Reserve Bank's primary concerns. And third, it established a traditional academic teaching and research framework in contrast to the training approach adopted by other institutions promoted by the Reserve Bank. 5 years, you've got to look at each of these three dimensions, and I will do so now. On the first, on exclusive and full funding by the Reserve Bank, there is, of course, as we all recognize, a moral hazard issue there. Whether the money that a public institution is giving to a research institution is fully serving public interest. What's the watchdog function over that? There are several, actually. There is the Governing Council, of which the Governor of the Reserve Bank is the chair, but there are other distinguished members on the Governing Council who constantly evaluate the research, teaching, and other performance of the IGIDR on a regular basis. Beyond the Governing Council, there is the Central Board of the Reserve Bank, which keeps a very strict vigil on all the external research activities promoted by the Reserve Bank, including, of course, our largest donee, the IGIDR. So the Central Board of the Reserve Bank has commented periodically, regularly, on both the positive and negative dimensions of RBI's research funding, and that has been a big contribution to seeing that the research quality is constantly high. Based on the feedback that we got from our Central Board, in 2009, we appointed a committee under the chairmanship of Dr. Jalan, which went through the performance of the IGIDR and suggested a strategy for improvement over the long term. The Jalan Committee report provided a blueprint for the Institute and also at the same time a framework for external interlocutors, especially the Reserve Bank, to evaluate the IGIDR's performance. The second unique factor that I said about IGIDR is its focus on broad-based research. That has two clear benefits. The first is that unlike a think tank, which specializes in a narrow area and its recruitment of faculty is informed or restricted by that narrow area of interest, the IGIDR has always had the flexibility to recruit faculty without being overly concerned about their specific narrow area of interest. Therefore, IGIDR today has a multidisciplinary team of economists who contributed to its quality of research and teaching. If you actually think back, think on a larger scale, you know that academic disciplines flourish because of cross-fertilization with other disciplines. And within a broad discipline, they flourish if there's cross-fertilization with other subdisciplines. I was reminded of the Nobel Prize this year. One of the Nobel Prize receivers, awardees, Sharp, declined to be recognized as an economist. He wanted to be noted as a mathematician. We have John Nash of the Beautiful Mind film fame, who got a Nobel Prize for economics, but he always was recognized as a mathematician. We have Kahneman, psychologist, who received a Nobel Prize in economics. So academic disciplines flourish because of their interaction with other disciplines, and therefore IGIDR, I think, has benefited from that broad-based approach to multidisciplinary research. The third factor that distinguishes IGIDR is its teaching program, particularly the quality of its teaching program. We hear a lot of good things about the alumni of IGIDR. Professor Mahendra just said that the placement is 100%, sometimes over 100%. We also hear good reports about them, how they're technically sophisticated apart from their broad-based understanding of economics and other disciplines. That's because the quality of the faculty and the quality of research that they do here. So on all these unique factors, if we look back over the last 25 years, I think IGIDR can look back with a sense of satisfaction and achievement and accomplishment. Of course, there's always room for improvement, and we will be there to ensure from the Reserve Bank, from the Governing Council, that IGIDR continues to improve on its performance. A couple of minutes ago, I had the pleasure and privilege of releasing the IDR, the India Development Report, the 7th in the series, which stretches back to 1994-95. The IDR, in a way, is the most high-profile product of IGIDR and defines the brand equity of this institution. It set exacting standards for economic analysis and, importantly, for the implications of that analysis for policy. Many factors have contributed to the IDR being a very valuable and value-adding publication. The most important, as I said a short while ago, is the quality of the research done here. There are, of course, core chapters in the IGIDR. There are the standard issues, macroeconomic issues, growth, inflation, the external situation, the fiscal situation. So one might ask, where is the need to look at these questions every 2 years? In fact, in the Reserve Bank, we look at them twice every day, in fact, more often. So the value of looking at them so often is that even as the questions are standard, the answers vary. We all know of that well-known story of a person who went back to his institution for a 25-year reunion and came across a question paper in economics and found that the questions were all the same. So he went back to an old professor and said, how come the questions are all the same? Have we not learned anything more? the answer was that the questions are same, but the answers are different. So it is, in that sense, looking for more contemporary answers to standard questions that will never go away is where the IDR adds value. In addition to the standard core topics, the IDR has addressed several special topics. In this particular volume, I had a sneak preview of this. There's a chapter addressed to biofuels, a complex issue at the micro level, but enormous macro implications as a meaningful substitute for fossil fuels. There is discussion on corruption, which is so much a part of our public discourse these days. There is need to look at the issue of corruption and how to arrest that on an institutional basis from a solid analytical foundation, and the IDR fulfills that need. There's a chapter on internal migration. Internal migration, the steep rise in wage rates unrelated to productivity has been one of our success stories, has also been one of our failures at the same time. It's driving up inflation without commensurate increase in productivity. There's a chapter on that. There is a chapter on public service provision in our urban areas. We know from development experience that urbanization and economic development are correlated, but it's not clear which way the causation runs. From urbanization to economic development, or from economic development to causation, perhaps it runs both ways. So if urbanization is going to be a trend of the future, how do we manage urbanization so that it is economically value-adding? There's a chapter on that. I could go on and on, but I thought I'd give you a flavor of the rich content of the IDR. The IDR has therefore been known for its comprehensive coverage, its contemporary context, its analytical methodology, and most importantly, for its messaging in a clear and candid manner. Let me now spend a few minutes looking ahead at the IGIDR. In particular, I want to comment on what sort of professional and knowledge bondage there can be between IGIDR and the Reserve Bank. I said earlier that the IGIDR was set up without an expectation that its research agenda will be straitjacketed by RBI's concern. That will continue to be the dictum. There is no intention to straitjacket IGIDR's research agenda. Nevertheless, there is a lot of difficult policy questions for which we look for answers. In the Reserve Bank, as you know, there's a lot of research that is done. There's a lot of research that is of international quality that is done in-house in the Reserve Bank. But nevertheless, there is value to an external institution looking at the same questions and providing us a reality check, or providing us a reference frame for a public debate on issues that the Reserve Bank is engaged in. I could give you a long list of questions, but I put together just 5 questions to give you a flavor of questions for which we have no final answers. First, how does one explain the current inflation process? Why is the negative output gap not having the expected moderating impact on inflation? Second, what is the relationship between growth and inflation? What's the threshold level of inflation beyond which one needs to worry about its adverse impact on growth? Third, what's the role of exchange rate in the current inflation process? Available empirical evidence suggests that the exchange rate pass-through has been low. But the question is, has the pass-through increased in recent years? Are we unaware of it? Fourth, what's the sacrifice ratio in addressing the current inflation persistence? Are we in particular missing the micro foundations of price formation? finally, what is the role of expectations in the current inflation persistence? This is just a sampling of many, many questions for which we're trying to find answers in the Reserve Bank, and I think premier institutions of the country, such as the IGIDR, should engage themselves in these research questions. Finally, I want to propose a word of thanks, because that is expected of me. IGIDR has benefited from the intellectual leadership of several directors over the last 25 years. I want to acknowledge them. First, of course, Professor Kirit Parikh and Dr. Jyoti Parikh briefly, founding director and directors who laid the foundations for the rich academic culture of this institution. Followed by Professor Radhakrishna, who regrettably is not with us today, Professor Najne, and the current director, Professor Mahendra Dev. Each one of them to this institution with a formidable reputation for academic excellence and have set exacting standards for research and teaching here. From the Reserve Bank side, the IGIDR owes to successive governors. Dr. Manmohan Singh in the early 80s for conceiving the idea of this premier institution. Late Sri Malhotra, who carried forward the concept of IGIDR to commissioning. Sri S. Venkataramanan, a reputed policy wonk, who built the bridge between the world of academia and the world of policy. Dr. Rangarajan, during a long stint, first as deputy governor and then as governor, who brought deep scholarship into policy making. Dr. Bimal Jalan, known for never missing the big picture, even as individual policies are being designed and debated. And finally, Dr. Y.V. Reddy, a scholar among policy wonks and a policy wonk among scholars, known for his intellectual courage of conviction. So the IGIDR owes to all these directors and to all these governors. Over the last 25 years, IGIDR has set exacting standards and a formidable reputation. It is today one of the premier research institutions in public policy, particularly economic policy in the country. I'm very pleased to hear what Professor Mahendra Dev said about the aspiration for the way forward. So I want to define that in more concrete terms. You look back on the last 25 years, you look ahead to the next 10 years. In the next 10 years, maybe by the end of 2022, the IGIDR must aim at being ranked among the top 10 global public policy institutions. I wish you all the very best in that very challenging endeavor. Thank you very much.